All right, so welcome to another deep dive.
Yes.
This time, we're going to be going through the life and crimes of Gerald Parker,
Gerald Parker, okay.
who is currently on death row at San Quentin State Prison.
Oh, wow.
So to do this, we've got a
Mm-hmm.
pretty fascinating stack of material.
Oh, cool.
We've got court documents, news articles. We even pulled his Wikipedia page.
Wow, really? You went deep, huh?
Yeah, just to try to get, as many different perspectives on this case as possible.
Okay, yeah.
Which, by the way, this case went unsolved for nearly 2 decades.
Oh, wow.
Until Parker was finally caught in 1996.
That's a long time.
It is a long time.
Yeah.
And actually, Parker's conviction, this is a little bit of a twist,
Okay.
led to the exoneration of another man
What?
who spent 16 years wrongly imprisoned.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to unpack here, Apis.
There's a lot to unpack. This guy was dubbed the bedroom basher,
The bedroom basher? Oh.
which, kind of already
Yeah, that already gives you a sense.
gives you a little bit of a sense of the kind of crimes that we're dealing with here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, where do we
we even begin?
begin? I don't know.
I think that,
You always want to go straight to the, darkest,
yeah,
parts.
the juicy stuff.
But I think it's really important to
Mhm.
understand kind of the context first.
Absolutely.
I think, to understand, his descent into violence, we
Mhm.
have to go all the way back to his beginnings.
Okay.
He was born in 1955,
Okay.
and his early life was marked by a series of events that could very well have, shaped his trajectory.
I mean, he had, from what I've read, he had a really rough start to life. His mother passed away
Yes.
when he was just 8 years old.
She did. She actually died during childbirth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, and to make matters worse, his father abandoned the family shortly after.
Of course, yeah.
So that left Parker and his siblings, to bounce around between relatives, and, they even spent some time in juvenile detention.
Yeah.
It was a very unstable environment
Yeah.
for a young child.
Traumatic, yeah.
Very traumatic.
Yeah. And that was just the beginning. I mean, there are reports of substance abuse issues, incredibly early in his life.
Yeah, 7 years old.
I mean, 7 years old.
7 years old, sniffing glue.
Glue and paint thinner.
And paint thinner,
I
yeah.
mean, that's
chilling.
That's pretty chilling.
It speaks volumes, I think,
Yeah.
about the kind of environment that he was exposed to, that early exposure to substances, coupled with, that trauma of losing his mother and the instability of his home life could have, who knows? But it could have had a profound impact
Yeah.
on his developing brain.
So, I mean, are we saying, his troubled childhood, directly caused him to become a serial killer?
No,
I mean,
I don't. It's not that simple.
Right. It's not that direct.
It's not a simple cause and effect.
Right.
While childhood trauma can create vulnerabilities, it's not a guaranteed predictor,
Right.
of future violence. Plenty of people who experience similar traumas go on to lead healthy, productive lives.
Of course.
But in his case, it's a crucial piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
We have to consider how these early experiences may have shaped his worldview.
Right.
His ability to form healthy relationships, his coping mechanisms.
His ability to cope.
Yeah.
So it kind of laying the foundation for a very troubled path.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's this interesting period where it seems like he was actually turning things around. He attended Boys Republic, this school for troubled youth,
Mm-hmm.
and he actually excelled there.
He did, yeah.
He was even recognized for his work. He was a runner-up for some community award.
Yeah.
What do we make of that?
It's a fascinating contradiction, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Shows us that he wasn't inherently destined
Right.
for a life of crime.
Right.
He had potential, he had a glimmer of hope.
It makes you wonder, what might have been different.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what could have happened.
Yeah.
Had
Had that positive momentum continue.
Right.
It's like he had this chance to break free from his past, but something pulled him back in.
Yeah.
And this brings us to his time in the Marines.
Okay.
He joined in 1973.
Yeah.
From the outside, it seemed like he was thriving.
Yeah.
Rose through the ranks. Eventually, he achieved the rank of staff sergeant.
Wow. So that's pretty impressive. You have to
that requires discipline.
Yeah. Discipline and
Leadership, right. So it's
And it just seems to contradict this image of a troubled and violent
this troubled, violent kid.
individual.
Right.
It's a reminder that people are complex, I guess.
Right.
And multifaceted.
But, this period of relative stability didn't last. And in 1980, he received a dishonorable discharge due to a felony conviction.
Okay.
And this is, I think, where things really take a dark turn.
Mm-hmm.
Around this time, he brutally assaulted a woman named Aida Demirjian
Mm-hmm.
in a parking garage,
Okay.
beat her repeatedly with a metal pipe,
Wow.
and attempted to rob her.
Oh, man.
Yeah, the details are pretty disturbing.
Yeah.
Um, like not only the choice of weapon and like the level of violence,
Hmm.
but also just the seemingly random nature of the attack.
Yeah, it seems like a witness intervened,
Okay.
forcing Parker to flee, luckily
Luckily, yeah.
for her. And, but the police noticed blood on his clothing,
Okay.
which led to his arrest.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this raises the question, right?
Yeah.
Was this attack a sign of things to come?
Right.
Was it like a breaking point
Like a turning point.
where the darkness inside of him like finally surfaced?
Yeah, it's definitely a turning point.
Yeah.
This incident shows us that, like, the violence was already there. You know?
Yes.
Yeah, simmering beneath the surface.
Simmering.
And unfortunately, it didn't end there.
Right, right.
This is just the tip of the iceberg.
The
And
iceberg.
Parker's story.
Wow.
Yeah.
And perhaps the most disturbing aspect of like his early crimes is the kidnapping and rape of a 13-year-old girl, Paula S.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, this crime is particularly chilling.
I can't imagine.
I mean, because of the victim's age
Yeah.
and the lasting trauma that it undoubtedly caused.
Right. And
Remarkable.
what's so remarkable is that Paula's, like, bravery and attention to detail ultimately played a crucial role in his capture.
Right.
Years later.
Yeah, she managed to remember very specific details
Yeah.
about Parker
Amazing.
and about his van, even in the midst of that horrific experience.
Yeah.
Years later, when the investigators were finally able to connect those details to other crimes,
Mm-hmm.
it was a major breakthrough.
Yeah, and it speaks to the resilience of the human spirit,
It does. It really does.
but it also highlights the lasting impact
of course.
of these crimes on the victims.
Absolutely. But sadly, this was just the beginning
Yeah.
of Parker's reign of terror. What we've just discussed is really just a prelude
Okay.
to the series of murders
All right.
that earned him that truly chilling nickname, the Bedroom Basher.
Right. So that's where we'll pick it up next time.
Yeah, that's where we'll pick it up next time.
We'll get into, like the specific details
The specifics.
of those crimes
Yeah.
and the patterns that emerge.
Yeah, and we'll explore, like the psychology of the killer,
Mm-hmm.
the impact on the victims and their families,
Right.
and, just the long road to justice.
This is going to be a heavy topic, but I think
It is.
it's important that we
Yeah,
we confront these difficult truths.
absolutely. Yeah. So join us next time
Yeah, join us.
as we continue our deep dive into the dark world of Gerald Parker.
Yeah.
See you next time.
See ya.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the life and crimes of Gerald Parker.
Yeah.
So in the previous segment, we explored Parker's troubled beginnings, his time in the Marines,
Right.
and his early acts of violence that kind of foreshadowed
Yes.
the darkness to come.
Right. Right.
Now we're moving into like the truly horrifying chapter
Okay.
of his story, the murders that earned him that chilling moniker, the Bedroom Basher.
Right. Yeah. So it's here that we really start to see like a clear pattern emerge
Okay.
in Parker's crimes.
Okay.
So he was targeting women in their homes.
Mm-hmm.
He was often entering through bedroom windows.
Oh, wow.
And the attacks themselves were incredibly brutal,
Yeah.
often marked by blunt force trauma.
Right.
And frequently using a 2x4 as the weapon.
It's that 2x4 detail that really sticks with me.
Yeah.
It just seems so, I don't know, personal,
Yeah, it's definitely a detail that like forensic psychologists often focus on.
Mhm.
Choice of weapon
Right.
can reveal a lot about the killer's mindset.
Right, right.
In Parker's case, the repeated use of that 2x4 suggests like a level of premeditation
Okay.
and a desire to inflict pain.
Right.
It wasn't just about, silencing the victims.
Right.
It was about brutalizing them.
Right. And his first known victim was 17-year-old Sandra Fry.
Oh, wow.
Broke into her apartment through the room window
Jeez.
and, well, attacked her with a 2x4.
Yeah, and it's just a horrifying way to like start this chapter,
Yeah.
in his story.
Yeah. It's a stark reminder of, the vulnerability that we
Right.
all face.
Yeah. Yeah.
even in our own homes.
It's true. And sadly, Sandra's murder was just the beginning.
Right,
You know?
right,
Over the next few years, Parker continued to, like, terrorize the community,
right,
claiming the lives of Kimberly Rowlands, Marilyn Carlton, Deborah Kennedy, and Diana Green.
right. And the case of Diana Green is particularly tragic.
Yes.
She was not only brutally attacked, but she was also 9 months pregnant at the time.
Yeah. And while she thankfully survived
Okay.
the attack, her child was delivered stillborn.
Oh my gosh.
Due to the trauma that was inflicted on her,
Wow.
it just adds another layer of, like, heartbreak and devastation
Yeah.
to an already horrifying crime.
It's almost unimaginable, the
Yeah.
level of, suffering
Yeah,
caused by Parker's actions.
it's true.
And then, of course, there's the added tragedy of, Diana's husband, Kevin Green,
Right.
who was wrongfully convicted of the crime.
Yes, this is a critical aspect of the case that I
Yeah.
think we really need to dive into a little bit further here.
I mean, Kevin spent 17 years in prison
17 years.
before finally being exonerated by the very same DNA evidence
Right.
that ultimately linked Parker to the crime scene.
It's unbelievable.
17 years. It's a stark reminder
Yeah,
of the fallibility of our justice system.
Yeah.
I mean, what went wrong?
Right.
How could an innocent man
Yeah.
be convicted
Yeah.
of such a heinous crime?
Well, there are a few factors that likely contributed to this, this miscarriage of justice.
Okay.
Firstly, eyewitness testimony, which was heavily relied upon at the time,
Yeah.
is notoriously unreliable.
Right.
Memories can be faulty,
Yeah.
especially under duress.
Of course. Yeah.
And secondly, forensic science was not as advanced as it is today.
Right.
DNA testing, which played a crucial role in Parker's eventual conviction,
Right. Yeah.
and in Green's exoneration, was still in its infancy back then.
Right. So you're saying like advancements in DNA technology
Yeah.
were instrumental in finally bringing
Yes,
Parker to
sure.
justice
Yeah.
after like nearly 2 decades
Yeah, after nearly 2 decades of terror.
of terror. Wow.
In 1996, investigators were finally able to use the DNA evidence collected from the crime scenes
Right.
to definitively link Parker
Right.
to the murders.
It must have been a huge moment for law enforcement
Oh, absolutely.
to finally have their man
Yeah,
after all those years of searching.
yeah.
But what about Parker? How did he react?
Well, this is where things get even more complex, I guess.
Okay.
During his trial, Parker confessed to all 6 murders.
Wow.
But here's the twist.
Okay.
He also requested the death penalty for himself.
Oh, wow.
He stated, and I quote, "If my life is what it takes for them to feel that their family members have been vindicated, then that is what I believe should be done. My life should be taken away from me."
It's a chilling statement.
Yeah.
It's almost like he was seeking like some kind of twisted form of redemption through his own death.
Yeah, it's hard to know for sure,
Yeah.
what motivated him to make that request.
Right.
Was it genuine remorse?
Right.
Was it a manipulation tactic?
Right.
Was it a desire to exert control even in the face of his capture?
Right. It's a question.
It's a question that psychologists and criminologists
Yeah.
still continue to grapple with to this day.
The case of Gerald Parker really is just a labyrinth
It is.
of like dark twists and turns.
Yeah.
But beyond the sensationalism, I think there's a lot we can learn.
Oh, absolutely.
From this story, the randomness of the victims, the brutality of the attacks,
Right.
the wrongful conviction of Kevin Green,
Yeah.
it all points to these like larger issues
Yes, yes.
that I think we need to examine.
I think it's crucial, that we move beyond the who and the what and delve into the why.
Right.
What drove this seemingly ordinary man
Yeah.
to commit such horrific acts?
Yeah.
What can we do to prevent similar tragedies from happening?
Yeah.
These are the questions.
These are the
that
questions.
keep me up at night.
And I think those are the questions that our listeners should be pondering as well.
Absolutely.
As we move into the final segment
Yeah.
of our deep dive,
Yeah.
we're going to explore those questions in a bit more depth.
Okay, great.
We'll discuss like the psychology of a serial killer,
Okay.
the role of childhood trauma and substance abuse,
Mm-hmm.
and the ongoing efforts to, create a safer,
Yeah.
more just society.
This journey has been heavy,
It has.
but it's also enlightening. And by confronting these dark truths,
Yeah,
we can learn from them
right.
and hopefully prevent future tragedies.
Absolutely, yeah. So join us next time
Yeah.
as we continue our deep dive into the dark world of Gerald Parker.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in our deep dive into the life and crimes of Gerald Parker.
Yeah, we have.
From his troubled beginnings
Oh.
to the chilling details of his murders
Mm-hmm.
and the wrongful conviction of Kevin Green.
Yeah. This case has, I think, exposed some truly dark corners of humanity.
Yeah, it's been a heavy journey for sure.
Yeah.
But as we reach the final segment of our deep dive,
Right.
I want to kind of shift our focus, from the darkness to the light.
Okay.
Like, what can we learn from this tragedy?
Yeah.
How can we apply these learnings to create a safer, me-behust world?
I mean, those are the million-dollar questions, aren't they?
They are, yeah. It's easy to get lost in the macabre details.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think the real value of exploring cases like this is to extract knowledge
Right.
that can help us prevent future tragedies.
Absolutely.
And one of the most crucial takeaways, in my opinion, is the importance of early intervention.
Yeah. Okay.
When we look back at Parker's life, the red flags are there.
Right.
The traumatic childhood,
Yeah.
the early substance abuse,
Right.
the escalating violence.
Right. Right. I mean, it makes you wonder, like, what if someone had intervened earlier?
Right.
What if there had been more support for him,
Right.
after his mother's death and
Yeah.
his father's abandonment?
Yeah.
What if his substance abuse issues
Right.
had been addressed when he was just a kid?
It's impossible to say for sure.
Right.
But it does highlight the critical need for robust social safety nets, mental health services, substance abuse treatment programs.
Right.
These aren't just social programs.
Right.
These are investments in a safer future for everyone.
It's like we often focus on punishing criminals after the fact,
Right.
but what about, like, preventing them from becoming criminals in the first place?
Exactly, yeah. We need to shift our mindset,
Yeah.
from a purely reactive approach to crime to a more proactive one.
Okay. Yeah.
That emphasizes prevention and rehabilitation.
Right.
And that starts with addressing, like, the root causes of violence,
Right.
poverty, inequality,
Right. Right.
lack of access to education and opportunity.
Of course. Yeah. And it also requires, like, a shift in how we view mental health, right?
Yes.
We need to create a culture where seeking help for mental health issues is encouraged,
Yes, absolutely.
not stigmatized.
Yeah, we need to teach our children emotional intelligence,
Yeah.
healthy coping mechanisms,
Right.
and how to resolve conflict peacefully.
Right. Right.
It's about fostering empathy and compassion from a young age.
It's a multifaceted approach,
It is, yeah.
for sure. But it feels like, a hopeful path forward,
Right.
one that moves us away from fear and retribution
Yeah, yeah.
and towards understanding and prevention.
And that's what I find so inspiring about these deep dives.
Right.
They challenge us to confront uncomfortable truths,
Right.
to ask difficult questions, and to seek solutions.
Yeah.
And while we may never be able to, completely eliminate violence from the world,
Right.
we can certainly strive to create a society where it's less prevalent.
Well said. And as we conclude our exploration of Gerald Parker's life and crimes,
Yeah.
I want to leave our listeners with a thought.
Okay.
What can you do in your own life
Yeah.
to contribute to a safer, more compassionate world?
Right.
Perhaps it's volunteering at a local organization that supports at-risk youth,
Yeah.
or speaking up against injustice when you see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every act of kindness, every voice raised against violence makes a difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. Remember, change doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
It's a long and winding road, but it's a journey worth taking.
Yeah.
And by working together, by choosing compassion over fear
Right.
and understanding over judgment,
Right.
we can create a brighter future for ourselves and for generations to come.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged in the world around you.